All right, welcome to Live from My Drum Room. My guest today is my old friend and incomparable drummer, Michael White. Over the course of his 40-plus years in the industry, you've heard Michael on thousands of recordings by artists such as George Duke, Steely Dan, Frankie Beverly Maze, George Benson, Lala Hathaway, Kenny Lattimore, Vanessa Williams, and many more. He has over 60 film credits, including Boomerang, Above the Rim, About Last Night, Undercover Brother, Shaft, Bad Moms, Horrible Bosses, A Bad Mom's Christmas, The Boss, Sing 2, and dozens more. Mike's playing is always about the groove, feel, and taste, always serving the music and always knowing what to play and what not to play. And I'm so honored to have him here today with me. So come along for the ride with the great Michael White. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my God.
The great Michael White. Come on.
Oh, my God. How you doing, Johnny D?
I'm great, my brother. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here today. Man,
thank you for having me.
It's an honor. It really is truly an honor. Long overdue, like we talked about. I should have done this a while ago, but I got to give a shout to our friend Trevor Lawrence Jr., who had you on his podcast recently, the Trev Beats Show. I want to give a shout out to Trevor. And I thought, man, I got to get Michael on my show, and we'll do a little different spin on this one. So,
oh, great! Trevor's great, man. Had a blast.
Yeah, he's great. I really love what he does, and it's great that he comes at it from a player's perspective, and he can really speak to that. So, yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But brother, and also a shout out to your wife Sydney. It's her birthday today, and she.
That's right.
Yeah, she was kind enough to give you about an hour or so pass to be here on the show with me today. So thanks to her. Man. So let's jump in.
Okay.
We've been friends a long, long time, and I can't tell you how much I'm a fan. I remember I was thinking about this, seeing you, I think it was with Frankie Beverly back in the 90s at Berkeley in Boston. Do you remember doing a concert? And I want to say it was maybe the early to mid 90s with Frankie Beverly at Berkeley Performance Center. Does that at all?
I think when we played Boston, I think we played it outdoor, like a harbor venue, like something outdoor.
Okay. Then that's maybe I'm mixing that up then. But I think I saw you. I remember that too. And that's a place on the water, the Harbor Lights, or what it's called now is something different.
There you go. Yeah. That's the place.
Yeah.
The last time we saw each other, you came to see me with the Dukes of September.
Yes.
Which was 2010.
2010. I know, just a couple years before I left Zildjian. I remember you came to visit that day. And
that's right.
Yeah, man, that was always a treat. It's always inspiring. And since we've been talking about doing this show, you were kind enough to point me in the direction of, a handful of tunes. There's so many to choose from. And I've been digging it so much, like your approach to playing. And I want to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of the stuff I know you and Trevor talked about too, especially like your feel is so, we talk about that with a lot of drummers, but it really speaks in your playing. I mean, you have such a unique feel. It's comes through. There's a couple of these tunes where I'm guessing you recorded them with a click track, but you give them such life and such space and air. And that's a gift, my brother. That's not an easy thing to do.
Well, I tell you, some of the stuff that you might play or that I've recorded, some is with a click, some is not with a click. And then there's people who don't want to click. They think that it'll make the music stiff. So I understand that concept as well. But if you think of the click as a percussion instrument, a cowbell or any kind of, whatever kind of click, if you use a shaker or tambourine, whatever, and you play with it like you would a percussionist, there's places where you could duck out the way and lean up a little bit and kind of move to the side. A groove is just a conversation amongst musicians. And everybody's talking about the space that they're going to envelop, So that's why everybody's groove is so different. Your body clock is so different. Everybody.
Yeah, and so when we play some of these tunes later, you can tell me, if you remember which ones were with the click, because I'd be curious. And I say that only because I know so much music now is done. It's just I know producers, many prefer to use a click, and somebody like yourself who's very accustomed to it and used to it, not a big deal. Like you said, you can work with it and use it to your advantage. Like you say, kind of move around it and create this other kind of groove with it, which is an art in itself. But before we get to that, let's talk about growing up in Chicago and kind of how you got started and, kind of how that all came to be as a young drummer.
Okay. So I got started. My father was a cook or chef or something at the London House in Chicago. And the London House was a famous jazz restaurant where Louis Belson, Gene Krupa, all those people would come and perform. Ramsey Lewis, Dizzy Gillespie, they all performed at the London House. And Gene Krupa played there, and I didn't know who he was at the time. I was 4 or 5 years old. He sent home a pair of drumsticks by my dad with his name on it. And that became my first pair of sticks that I would beat on the furniture and tap on everything. So let me see, that was around when I was 4 or 5 years old. I joined a school band in the 4th grade, which made me around 9 years old. And they taught you how to read snare drum and so forth. So I started early on just on snare drum and the practice pads and that kind of thing from, the age of 9. And then I went on to high school and had a great high school instructor named Alvin E. Lawson. And a great band instructor, somebody believes in you, can change your whole, path for your career. Like, there's so many people that started doing this that no longer play or things didn't turn out the same, and doesn't mean anybody was better than them or worse than them. It has more to do with like how like I have a certain way that I will outwork somebody, so everything is not about talent. It was so many talented guys growing up in my neighborhood. I might have been on the list, but I was definitely not at the top of the list. It was guys that I looked up to, that I grew up to, my first heroes, that people, wouldn't know who they are. And so a lot of them still play, but they might not have made the national stage, but they are still and were great drummers and great at pushing me to the place where I was able to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great, man. I love hearing that too. That's so important, those early years and the impression that a great teacher or mentor can make on somebody's life, in their future. And so you started off on snare drum and moved to drum set.
Moved to drum set in around 7th grade and started playing in the talent shows and different things like that. And I did a little drum corps for a while in Chicago. And then when I was 15, when I was 15, we had a band, Curtis Mayfield's son, Ramsey Lewis's son, another guy that's a great guitar player named Jean-Paul Borelli. We had a band, and we would rehearse at Ramsey Lewis's house. And Ramsey would come home from the road and pop down to the basement and check us out. And he had a TV show at the time, so we performed on the TV show. And his drummer got sick and couldn't make some dates. His name was Morris Jennings.
Yeah, Mo Jennings, yeah.
Yeah, Mo Jennings. So Ramsey asked me if I thought I could handle it. And I said, yeah. And I started doing some dates with him. And that started at 15. And that led me to meeting, Verdine White and Freddie White and Maurice and everybody because of their relationship. And Freddie and Maurice and them adopted me as like a cousin. Although we're not blood cousins, they would call me namesake. And then I would later live with Freddie White, and of course, my relationship came with Zildjian via Freddie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Freddie told Lenny DiMuzio and all those guys, look, if you want to keep me, you got to sign my cousin. It's going to be special. And I'm like, look, this is a lot of pressure you putting on me. And they said, if you say it's so, it's so. So the NAMM show was in Chicago at the time at the McCormick place. And I met Lenny and everybody. And that's when they signed me in 81. So it's been that long.
Man, wow.
And they came to see me play in Chicago at a place called Redford's, the old jazz pub. I was playing with Phil Upchurch. And That was 81. So 82, I moved to LA. And
Okay.
my first gig in LA was with Phil Upchurch on Sunday nights at the Baked Potato. I was making $40, a free baked potato, and all the Cokes I could drink. But the best part about it, at the bar, you would see Jeff Porcaro, Al Jarreau, Joe Sample, Jimmy Smith, Larry Carlton, all the greats came after their sessions, come hang at the Baked Potato to have a drink and a potato and a little dinner, and everybody got to hear you, and the word of mouth spread. Well, this guy from Chicago, he plays da da da. Let me call him, and that's how it starts snowballing. That's how I met Jeff, how I met Vinny, all the guys, and I
Yeah.
think I told you years ago, when I was through my endorsement thing, my first endorsement came. I was with Slingerland. And I was referred to Slingerland by Louis Belson. I met Louis at a drum clinic at Frank's Drum Shop in 78, something like that. And we were asking questions, a lot of the guys, Vince Wilburn, Donzel Davis, all the guys that were the top guys in Chicago. We would go and ask questions and catch all the clinics, and they asked us about some Swiss rudiments. And I raised my hand because we had been studying them. And he had me come on the stage. I came on the stage and demonstrated the Swiss rudiments. And then he said, "You hang around." He hung around. He introduced me to a guy named Spence Aloisio. I still remember the name.
Yeah.
And he gave me my first free drum set. That was my first endorsement.
Man.
And then everything after that went from there. And Jeff was my second with Pearl. He saw me at the Baked Potato and said, "What drums would you like to play if you weren't playing Slingerland?" I said, "Pearl." He said, "Here's my number. Call me Thursday." By Friday, I was signed.
Man.
So that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, man. I think you told me that was around 84.
1984, I was about to go out with the Pointer Sisters. 1984, yes.
Man, that is the kind of guy he was. I know.
Yeah.
Man. And I love this. This is so great, Mike, hearing these stories because, it happens so organically for you. You know what I mean? That's to me the best way when people come out and hear you play. You're not forcing it down anybody's throat. You're not, and there's a certain amount of, having to sell yourself that people have to do these days, to sort of get gigs and that sort of thing. But just knowing you, it's like, this gig led to this gig, led to this gig. And it was about your playing and something you said to me the other day, which I thought was so important. And I don't know if I'll remember it exactly how you said it, but you said basically getting the gig is the easy part. It's getting the call back. That's the hard part. Yeah, man.
A lot of people get a call or get a gig, but it's no wonder why you see the same people recording, doing the different things they do over and over and over. It's the call back. Getting the call, it's nothing wrong with just getting the call, but you want to get the call and get the call back. And it turns into a relationship where they become your clients. So it's almost like you just kind of know if they're working, I may get a call. I probably get a call. I hope I get a call. At least you consider, because all these gigs, they belong to the artist. So they're inviting us to come along for the ride, but it's not our gigs. So if they make changes along the way, that's what they do for different reasons.
Yep.
That's just a part of it.
I think that's so important. That's so healthy to understand that part of the business that, like you say, I mean, your responsibility as the drummer, as a musician is to play the best you can play, be the best you can be all the time. And sometimes that, as great as that could be, they may just want something different, right? I mean, it may not have anything to do with your ability. It just might be, well, we want to go with this guy because we're looking for just a different sound or a different thing. But
that's right.
Yeah. But I think what you're stressing is so important that, you're there to work for the artist or the producer, whoever's hired you, and give them what they want. It's not about, Michael White thinking this is going to be better for this song than what this guy wants me to play. So I'm going to play what I want to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that happens a lot with a lot of people. But when you become, like, if you just, casually doing, recording on somebody's track, or you get called to do something, that's different than being a studio musician, somebody who basically makes a living doing records, doing films, doing jingles, doing TV. When you come into that arena, you it's no ego. You park the ego at the door. It's about serving the music.
Yeah.
So, I would a lot of times shy away from, the gigs that was heavy on the chop side. When I was younger, I was okay with that. But as I went through my career, all my gigs were like more groove gigs. And there was a period like in the 90s when I was out with Sanborn, out with George Benson, where they wanted drum solos. And I was okay with that. I was 20, 30 years younger, so I was okay with that. But, people who know me and work with me, they know I don't care anything about a drum solo.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be remembered for a 2-hour concert instead of a 20-second drum solo, or this great feel that's going to make every drummer in the room go, oh, wow. And everybody in the crowd going, okay. I don't know what that was, but the few drummers that was around, they loved it, so it must have been something special.
Yeah.
But all they know is when you go to a concert, if they in there doing this and then you get interrupted, it's like, I don't want to take a solo right here because once I start soloing, this is going to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would rather, figure out a way. I love drum solo. It's like the way Steve Gadd architects the drum solo. He plays the solo, but he never loses that the motor of that train. Guys like that who solo like that is just, for me, is more enjoyable because I still got the groove. Now I'm hearing some ear candy, but I still got that main groove pulse that you can do. So a lot of times, when you start stretching out and you start just firing up, there's stops and stars and multiplications of rhythms. That's great. I mean, I love what is being played, but it's like it goes over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah.
Especially people that come to concerts. And the same kind of feel that will work in the baked potato won't work at the Forum.
Right.
A lot of those things get lost. It's just certain things, they're too big,
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, there's so much information here, that's just so important. And I think what you just said is so key too. And I know that about you, that you're, and it's, I think certain people like yourself, you mentioned Steve, are just comfortable in your own skin, and that you don't have to feel like you have to go out and impress somebody with a drum solo, because drummers that get it are going to hear you play and get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah, you can hear it in your playing. It's like it's not a question of how fast you can play a single stroke roll, or it's like you can. I've always said that playing great time and having a great feel is its own sort of chops. You know what I mean? And that's
right.
Yeah, and that's part of your chops. That's why you get hired. It's and people don't hire drummers for drum solos. Sorry to tell all the drummers watching that right now, but you won't get hired for that.
and I can appreciate it's a different thing now with social media. Back in the day, you were a drum company and, everybody's fighting for, I think I deserve an ad. I've had 3 or 4 big gigs in a row. I deserve an ad. I deserve a clinic. I deserved it. But now, if you want an ad, you just set up an ad on your page and it looks just like the ads that runs in the magazines. So that, the popularity has grown tremendously. Certain things, the chop thing is definitely, definitely front and center for most things, but you run across guys that are not thinking about that. And then when you see them play, Nate Smith, different guys like that, his chop is like slick and odd time, but never leaves the groove. He might twist the groove around, but you never lose that pulse of what that groove is. And you may see him on a floor tom, one cymbal, a hi-hat, and a kick drum and a snare. He won't have the whole, thing. But if you needed him to do that, he could do that too. So that's what it's about. It's about playing what's required for any kind of assignment.
Yeah.
Being prepared.
Exactly. So jumping back for a second. So you get to LA in 82 and you start playing with some people and networking, and you knew a few people out there already. And how soon, if you had to sort of guess, were you starting to do sessions after you got there? Like, you were doing live gigs at the Baked Potato and playing with people, but how early into that time were you getting calls to do records?
The records now, and once again, you'll appreciate this. Nobody, just like I was saying about my endorsements, right? Mm-hmm. Freddie White, Lenny White got me with Tama. Harvey Mason got me with Legend. Jeff got me with Pearl, Louis Belson, Slingerland. You start meeting people. So my first audition when I moved out here, January 2nd, my first gig with Phil Church was January 3rd, 1982 on a Sunday night. And I remember it clearly. So my first audition was with Horace Silver, Straight Ahead thing. And I grew up playing Straight Ahead in Chicago, sitting in with people like Von Freeman, Sonny Stitt, and all those kind of people. So I grew up on that. So, but that's not what I wanted to come out here for. I wanted to either go to New York or LA, and I wanted to do records, big tours, that kind of thing. So that's why I chose LA. Mm-hmm. So my first tour out here was with Horace Silver, Straight Ahead gig. So I was out with Horace, and we were touring, and I was with him for about 2 months. And I got a call from Patrice Russian's camp, and she had the big Forget Me Nots record out, and they were about to do a tour, and it was a long tour. So I auditioned for the gig, and at the time, I was the roommate living with Rayford Griffin, as he was playing with Jean-Luc Ponty, and I was roommating with him. So he auditioned as well, and I auditioned, and a bunch of other people, but they called me on my line in the guest room and told me I got a call back for tomorrow night. And then they called Rayford in the other room and told him he had a call back. So by default, I knew that I had the gig because Rayford already, he just wanted them to hear him.
Yeah.
He knew he couldn't do the gig because he had a tour coming up. Yeah. So fast forward, we do the first rehearsal. I meet Patrice, Freddie Washington's on bass, Gerald Albright's on sax, Ray Brown, William Bryan, Greg Moore, Eric McCain, all these fantastic people. Freddie Washington doing all these record dates, so he basically grabbed me by my hand and said, "You come with me. We're going to put you on this." So the first record I did with Freddie was Stanley Turrentine record called Home Again. And he got me on that. And then I met Ndugu, and Ndugu started referring me on his thing. Everything he was too busy to do. Hey, I got this young cat. He got eyes. He can read. He can do this. He plays great. Hire him. And Paul Jackson, same thing. Everything became like that. So 82, the record started. Man. Like right away. And then I was, playing on the road and doing the sessions. And then it just snowballed. Each time it snowballed, and this gig came up, and I met this guy new, and then he referred me to this guy. It was a whole network. Like I said, nobody does it alone. It's through relationships as well. When people feel a certain way about you, how you handle yourself, like you tune your drums good, you're on time, you don't cause a commotion, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I don't drink, so I don't get drunk and belligerent or anything like that. So people, and I like to have fun, so I love to laugh.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We have a good time, and people say, I dig his playing, I dig his personality, because when you're on the road, you're living with these people in tight quarters, on a tour bus, on a plane, seeing them every day, no days off. So you kind of got to keep a vibe and a spirit with everybody, and people like being around you. So, that becomes your family while you're away from home. So that's how I got in with the sessions here. And before I was doing sessions here, when I was touring with Curtis Mayfield, I auditioned for Curtis and got the gig. And the guy who auditioned me was one of the top jingle writers in the city named Rich Tufo. And he started calling me for jingles. Then I started doing jingles in Chicago. And that became a thing. And I was like, oh, I could get stuck with this because that mailbox money is really good. Because the jingles back then are way different than now. I mean, all the guys did jingles. If you could do jingles, you do the sessions at, like from 1 in the afternoon on. But in the morning, that's jingle time. All the top guys were doing jingles. New York, LA, Chicago. That was the thing. So that was like the golden time of recording, where guys had date books where they were doing from 10 to 1 jingles, from 1 to 4. That would be the first session. from 5 to 8, another session. Then you got the diehards that will go from 9 to 12 and do another session.
Yeah.
And that's how come everybody played on so many records. It was so much going on. So even if you got a small amount, even back then they had like demo sessions, demo musicians.
Yeah.
And they would pay like $150 a song for the demos. Now, if they really dug what you did, they say, "Oh, I kind of like this bass player. I kind of like this drummer. I'll use him on the record." And then you got in that way as well. But if they didn't think that it was up to par, they said, "Okay, that's great. So we'll call and do it, or James Gadsden or Harvey or whoever to come in and do it." But at least they heard me. They do another demo. He'd think about me again, and maybe he'll give me a shot. So a lot of people gave me shots like that via the demo route.
Yeah, that part of the business really just doesn't exist anymore, right? That's kind of not to that extent anyway, right? I mean, that's
well now with the program drums and all the AI assisted stuff. If you want drums now, you don't need to hire somebody to do a demo. You could just program it and do it that way. So that kind of killed that side of it. But the creatives, they find a way to get in the studio the old fashioned way and record. But today, most of the time, everybody's recording remotely because a lot of the major companies are not signatory to the union, so they don't want to pay cartage. They don't want to do all these other things. So if you could cut out the middleman and you go with the producer or the artist, and you could develop a rapport and a price, and you could do it. Yeah, but it's a different thing now. Like the young guys have asked me, "Hey, what would I do if I wanted to come to LA to try and get in?" I don't know. I don't know the scene. I don't know where to go and sit in and be heard. I just don't know about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's a way, but I just don't know it because I don't hit the club scene too much. But, it's a different thing now. Most people get hired off of social media.
Wow, man, I was going to say, and it seems like it's a different scene now too, to where, producers probably have their sort of list of guys and gals that they use. And I shouldn't assume, but I don't know that there's really that many opportunities for young cats just moving to town trying to get, like it was in 1982, playing at the Baked Potato and being seen by somebody. I mean, there's only so many of those opportunities now, whereas, nowadays, whereas 40 something years ago, that was such a scene. Like people were playing everywhere and there was so much music, live music, and now, and I was going to ask you too, on segueing to this, most of your records that you do, would you say most of them are done remotely at your studio at home?
Most of the films are done elsewhere.
Elsewhere, yeah.
I do a few cues for films here at the studio. I would probably say 70% of the records I do mostly are done at home. 70%. Yeah. But I have a great sounding room, great equipment, great engineer, Dennis Moody, and
Dennis,
and sometimes they'll bring in other engineers to run the session, but they pretty much keep what we have here. And I'll tell you, we were doing, if you get lucky with the right engineer and a good space to record, we were doing the Benson record, the one that won the Grammy, and I cut morning here at my place. We cut tutu and stuff over at Henson, but we cut morning here. So Al Schmidt wanted to come over to my studio and check it out. Mm-hmm. And he said, "You mind if I pop by? Because Capitol's probably 18 minutes from here." So he popped out to the studio and he looked at it, looked at the room and the shape of the room, the low ceilings. He said, "Everything I know about recording drums, this ain't it. But I can tell you this. Your room sounds amazing." And if you hear the record, the morning and all that was cut right here. And there's several of those records. But so it just depends on who's engineering and that kind of thing. You could build all kind of fancy wood and float the floors with sand and do all this kind of stuff. But if you luck up and get a great sounding room, a great drum sound, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not going to try and compete with Capital A or Henson, but, $1 million studios. But, man, with the equipment that I have and the engineers at hand, and the people who's going to end up mixing, they can make you sound like you cut an automat anywhere. It's amazing.
So when you record at home, do you have Dennis come in and he actually engineers the sound for you. Like you don't send stems to these guys. You give them like a mixed drum sound to work with.
Not mixed. No, not mixed.
No.
I send them back to stems and I give it to them dry. No reverb.
I see. Yeah.
Nothing like that. But when I send them to MP3, I send them what it should sound like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the good engineers, the great engineers, even the mediocre ones, I guess, I've never really gotten stuff that came out where I said, "Oh, my drum sound, that's not it." That rarely happens. I might have a couple of things where I say, they could have had the floor time up a little more here, or the times up a little more here, or that kind of thing. But overall, it's I'm pretty happy with the way things turn out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will send out the stems, and a lot of people like from around the world will send me tracks, music, charts, and I mean some of the stuff that I get sent, I'm like, man, they must have me confused with Wecco or Vinny or something. I'm like, that's a lot of drums that they're trying to get me to play, and I have to think about it for a second. I'm like, do I want to take this on? And a couple of them were gospel things. I'm like going, I got some young gospel cats I could turn you on to right here that I could just pass the stems on to. No, I know you do exactly what I want. And it might take me a little longer than what I would hope it would take me, but I can mimic some of those things, just from what I've heard, but it's not my natural place to go. Yeah. But if I sit with it and analyze it and say, okay, I know Teddy Campbell would do it like this. Brian would do it like this.
Yeah.
Lil Jon would do it like this. And then I can go and make my way. But you won't hear me say, well, Vinny would do it like this. I don't know what he would do. But, so you kind of go your way with it, and I make it work. But it's not my natural place or my go-to place. But if somebody comes to me and they say, this track, we want something that's going to make this thing feel good, feel great. Okay, I'm your guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can do that. Yep. So now we'll find what we want to, which snare drum we want to use, what hi-hats we want to use, what tom sound, so then we can go from there. But most of the time, getting back to the Dennis question, he only comes up when I'm doing like a specialty thing where somebody says, I want my drums to have a 60 sound or 70 sound, and I'll change heads and he'll tweak stuff out and do that. But he comes up, once every couple of months or maybe once a month and make sure everything is working properly. And if I get new mics, we plug them up and check it out, and he resets me up and does a lot of scenes for me and everything. But he's always on the horn talking me through things. What about this? This is sounding a little like this. Well, take out some of the 10K. Okay. So, that kind of thing, because I don't know anything about getting a drum sound. I just know it when I hear it.
Yeah.
I like, that's the sound I want. That sounds great. I don't know what that is, but that sounds great. So I know that, but I don't know how to achieve it. But luckily, I have a talented son, Dylan, who's a young rapper and artist, but he's a stellar engineer. So he works with me a lot and sets me up and does all my Pro Tools editing if I need. He does everything. So,
that's great.
So I'm lucky with the engineer thing. But
yeah.
But the home studio that's the new way now.
Yeah, I figured you did most of it at home. You've been and for some time, right? I feel like a long time ago you were like ahead of the curve with doing it.
Over 30 years. Over 30 years. Yep.
Yeah.
Over 30 years.
And that's definitely worked to your advantage to be, that comfortable now with it, where it's really become the standard of the industry for somebody like me. If I were to try to learn it today, I'd be so far behind the curve, because it's just evolved into this, process. But yeah.
And people who want to record, they just want to record. I'll give you a funny story. Stanley Clark, he came here and we did the movie Undercover Brother 2 at my studio. St. Bunch, Greg Moore, and myself. And he did keys and everything else away from here. But the three of us tracked live. Stanley sat right here and gave us instructions. And I had a music stand out in the garage because my garage is right here. Moved the cars out, put the air on, and gave Greg and them music stands. And we did the movie right here. All the cues for that movie we did right here. So
amazing.
Things can be done. We just hooked everything up, locked it up to SMPTE, and did, everything was just done. Because I do a lot of films with Stanley. I've done a ton of films with Stanley. So
And
Yeah,
that's
so it's been a
and
lucky
that's
thing.
and I was going to say, I was going to ask you how that sort of evolved, how you went from not the transition of that, but like moving into doing film work from regular sessions, because that's like typically another group of cats do those kinds of sessions too.
For sure. Marcus Miller got me in.
Yeah.
Marcus, the first big movie I did was Boomerang in '92, and we
Yeah.
did it at Capitol. And when Marcus called me for that, and then I did Above the Rim with him. I've done quite a few of his movies. And then that led me to Stanley, and then that led me to other people, other, composers, other contractors, Peter Rotter and the great Christopher Leonard, who I've done the most of my films with him and Stanley. I've done a ton of his films, Horrible Bosses, too, and a whole bunch of other ones. Everybody has their guys. And the thing that I love about Chris, when a composer trusts you, you still gotta read the ink, but they'll tell you in a second, hey man, if you hear something better than that or a little different than that might fit better, if you think, let's try that.
Wow.
And when you have that kind of freedom to do things, because I'm telling you, it's nothing more nerve-wracking than getting called to do a film. I love doing them, but every time I get called for film, I'm nervous. The week before, then about the night before, I can't hardly sleep, and I'm just thinking, what kind of music am I going to run into? Because you don't see it. You get to the session, and then it's on your stand, and you start going through the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they'll send out temp tracks like, we're looking for this kind of thing. So now you hear the temp tracks. Okay, we trying to do this kind of thing. So we want this, we want that, we want this. So those are much better. And then once you get down, play the first cue, and you come in and look at it, say, okay, and then you go to work, and then it just becomes part of because you never know. And the great players that do, like Brian Kilgore, my great friend, we've done a lot of films together,
Yeah.
and he's done tons. And every time I've been at his studio, he's got his practice workbook in front of the vibes, in front of the marimbas, in front of the timpani, and he goes out there like 2 or 3 times a week just to sight read, because mallets on film dates, the percussion situation
Yeah.
is, I won't do it. And they've been trying to get me to come in and start doing some percussion things. I'm like, nah, I'm not down with that. I'll stick to the drum set. That's a little too challenging. I
Yeah.
mean, that's scary for me. But you know, it's like a muscle. Anything you use a lot, it gets better and grows and grows and grows. And if you don't use it, like they say, you'll lose it. And
Yeah.
that's what happened with my drum chops. The kind of gigs I was on didn't require drum solos. So I didn't care to do them. The only time I played anything kind of fast was to close out the ending of a song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, and how often do you really need to play, other than at the end of a song, to do some sort of, I mean, how often do you even really need to play that stuff, right? I mean, it's
right.
for the
Unless
work that you do.
Unless the gig is asking for it. And
Yeah.
like I said, I kind of stay away from those kind of gigs.
But, I think about, and you mentioned some of this stuff with on Trevor's podcast too, when you were talking, and I just think the pressure that not to freak you out, but I mean, the pressure you must feel from going into a session like that, even as many as you've done too, like you said, knowing that you're not going to know what the music is until you get there, right? I mean, you're not going to really, until you see that chart, and you're going to have, some time to work with it. But man, that separates the men from the boys right there. That's,
it's definitely a test.
yeah,
It's scary, but I enjoy it so much. I subbed. What's Charles' last name? Great drummer out of Chicago, Charles Heath. He used to
yeah,
play with Ramsey Lewis,
yeah,
and he was doing The Color Purple. And he came to town, and they were doing the show downtown. And he invited my wife and I to come to the show. So we went to the show, and I had just been telling her that I want to challenge myself to do, more things, because I was doing all these contemporary jazz records, and I was super comfortable, even though, I knew what it was, but it wasn't challenging me. It's always a challenge to make it feel good and do what you wanted to do, but it wasn't like a full-on challenge. So she said, you remember you said you wanted to challenge yourself? I said, yeah. She said, you should stop for him. I'm saying, well, let me think about it. She said, no, he needs to know. So I said, okay, so let me talk to him. So I talked to Charles. He said, I could drop the book off at your house. So he brought the book over in a big, thick book. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I said, so what about rehearsals? He said, okay, so you audit the show. And I'm saying, audit the show? What does that mean? He said, I'll be sitting here playing drums. You'll be sitting off to my left or right. And you just, read along the book with me. You do that for 2 nights. On the 3rd night, you're up. So I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. So I said, okay, so now I took the gig. So now I'm sitting there watching him do the show. I'm saying, okay, that's not too bad. I'm reading along with him. And then I see something that says Perks on the chart. And he gets up and walks this way and grabs shakers and cabasas and all this kind of stuff. I'm like going, what the hell? He didn't tell me I had to play percussion. So now I'm in too deep. So now I'm looking at him going, oh, I can't back out. He didn't got his ticket to go home and do what he needed to do. So Wednesday night, 7:30 on the dot.
Downbeat.
We in it.
Yeah.
We're in it. And the first night, we were halfway right before intermission. My bass drum head busted.
Oh, man.
Which never happens. I'm down in the orchestra pit, it bust. I'm playing the kick pattern on the floor time. So the 15-minute intermission, the stage people came and changed out the kick drum head, and then it went good. I did the next night. He comes back, and then about 3 weeks later, he had to do something else. And the lady said, you can call Michael White back, see if he's available. So I subbed for him twice. So it was a real challenge, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And doing theater, every little thing, if they grab you by the collar, you got to do a certain rim shot and different little things, a splash. It's just different little things. Like with films, like if somebody's doing a scene and he's kind of like moving around and he's kind of like drunk and kind of dizzy. So they'll tell you, play a little thing here, but make it like loops like you're falling off the drum. So now you doing feels like, it's all against what we all know as trying to make something feel good and feel steady. It's the complete opposite, because you're watching the picture trying to mimic what this drunk guy's doing. So that's the fun stuff in it.
That's great, man.
It's like so many different turns. That's just a lot of fun. And then I want to touch on this, as I touched on before. And this is not a racial situation, anything like that. But there is a stigma. And the stigma is, and now the stigma is not even so much against, Black drummers of color that don't read. Now the stigma is young drummers don't read.
Yeah.
Like some of the gospel guys, some of these different guys play great, but don't read. People assume that. So part of the conversation, every time you get to hire somebody, or if somebody tells you, hey, man, I would love to sub for you sometime if you ever get too busy. I find myself just like anybody else asking that question that I hate so much. Hey, man, do you read? Mm-hmm. How's your eyes? Because so if you get in a situation where it's, good friend of mine, Tony Moore, subbed for me on a film. Mm. And I could make the second, third day, couldn't make the first day. He went in, and I know he does a lot of gigs, so I didn't ask him about the reading thing. I know he reads. So I didn't know if he'd done any films or not. I didn't know, didn't ask. He said he could do it, and he went in, and the composer calls me, say, hey, man, he did a great job, blah, 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 blah. And it was all good. I went in the day after that and did my thing. And that's the only film date that I've referred anybody to. Any other times I try and make them. And then I don't know if you heard the story of when my wife talked me into doing the orchestra date at Capitol.
Oh, I think I heard this, but you got to tell this story. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is great. I get a call from Jeff Lorber. who I do a lot of sessions with. So Jeff and I are buds. So Jeff said, this guy, Andreas Morricone, heard you on something that you did for me, and he wants to hire you to do this thing. He's doing an orchestra date at Capitol. And I said, you know, I've been on the road, so I haven't been reading for like the last year and a half, you know, 8 months, whatever, not consistently. So I said, okay, let me get his number. So I got his number. We spoke. Nice guy. So Andrea said, okay, I'll send you a couple of things. I said, yeah, can you send me some of the cues so I could, you know, get a look at it beforehand? Because I haven't been reading that much. So I might be a little rusty. So he said, no problem. So he sends me the cues. I go through it, some in 5, some in 7, mostly 4, some in 3. I said, okay, nothing too bad. So I get to the date at Capitol. I walk in, my gear's all set up. Mike Rose was my drum tech at the time. He walks out the room. The orchestra sits down, open up the book. The first cue, 9/8. The tempo's about 142, smoking tempo. And then the conductor comes to the podium. Now, I don't even have time to get out my pencil and write the E and the Us if I need to write out. I look for the hardest thing and write that out. So in case this figure comes up, I don't have to just read it. I can count it and see it. So I don't even have time to do that. So he says, okay, here we go. They start. We get through it. And something happens at the end. And I knew I missed something. I was a beat early, a bar or something. So he says, he cuts it off. Then he says, viola or whatever, change this note at bar 35. He said, drums, you came in a beat early or something early. I said, okay. He said, let's do it again. So we did it again. Now I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. So we get to it. We get through it. He cuts it off. He said, next cue. He calls up next cue. And everybody in the orchestra is looking at, because I'm the new guy. Everybody's looking, going, okay. So now we take the break. And I'm at the coffee machine. And they got bagels and stuff. Everybody's talking. They're coming up to me, you know, asking me, man, how come I haven't seen you before? So it's Paul Jackson, Alex Al, and a 60-piece orchestra. And we're doing a double date, so we're in for 6 hours. So they're drinking coffee and sodas, and I'm at my music stand trying to see the next cues. Like, okay, I'm trying, so I don't have to, because the string players and everybody else, they just walk over to their seat and sit down. They call the chart, they pull it up, and they're off to it. And I'm going to see it and look at it and get the feel. You know, that's the difference between like a film date and a movie date. Like, they're two different things. Like, if you're doing a movie date and a movie date rhythm section, so you're in just the rhythm section. So you're able to listen to the mock tracks and different things like that. And it's not as a cold read as a big date like that. So those are not as scary, but although you still are challenged because you don't know what you're going to be playing. So those are two different things. I like them both, but the movie dates are a lot more fun. The film dates is like, that's all business. That's just, they're scary, but it's so great to get, and it's a hard room to get invited into.
Yeah, man, I was going to say.
It's not an easy thing. And the guys who do it, they don't give it up easily either.
Right. And again, another example of being invited and being invited back, you know, and
that's right.
Yeah, that's huge. And, you know, when you mentioned too, you know, when you subbed for your friend in Chicago and, you know, you had a couple of like moments where you were sweating with the bass drum head breaking, and then, you know, you got through it, and then they had you come back and do it again. So I think, again, that's
right. I got the call back.
yeah. You got the calls. You're being humble. 'Cause I mean, that's, you know, they could have just said, yeah, he did it, but let's try to get somebody else. But obviously he nailed it.
I'm glad he helped us out, but yeah, maybe you could look for somebody else. I would have understood though. But I thought I kind of grade myself after I do these things. Okay, I was probably 88%, 85%. Now, if I'm getting down in the 70s, that's a C. I'm like, I don't want any C's. I want to stay in the B plus area and up if I can. You know, that's what we all hope for. Everything's not going to be an A plus. There's always going to be something that you go back, and I'll go back and listen to a ballad and say, man, one thing about this song drives me crazy. I held the hi-hat open for too long. And every time I would hit a record, and instead of going, instead of that, I might have went to, I said, oh my God, every time I hear that part on the record, I go, oh man, why didn't they let me fix that? And some as little as that, and people say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You hear how long the hi-hat, I gave it the value? No, I don't hear that. But, people hear certain things about their drumming, about their musicianship.
Yeah. No, I you're a pro. I get it, man. You're critical if you want it to be right. But you're right. I think 99, even most drummers really wouldn't pick up on it, but 99% of the rest of the world wouldn't even hear what you're hearing. But I know what you're saying. You hear it every time you hear that, you go,
every time I hit a record, I can pick the spot. That's it right there.
Hey everyone, John DeChristopher here, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. If so, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can visit my website, livefrommydrumroom.com, for upcoming episodes or any recent episodes you may have missed. Okay, back to the show, and thanks for watching. We haven't talked about Frankie Beverly yet, and that's a gig that you had for a long time, going back to the 80s, I think.
On and off for 21 years.
Man, wow,
yep.
Yeah.
On and off for 21 years.
That's some longevity. That's to say the least.
Well, and that was a hard gig. And see, people think because they say, "Oh, it's just groove stuff." Groove stuff can be hard because once again, in that name is the thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you think something's grooving, but the artist don't or the band don't, then it's not the right groove. And it might be grooving, it might be your groove, but as a guy that's trying to please an artist, you got to find his groove or her groove.
Yeah.
Because if I come to your gig and play my groove, that'd be great if this was your band, but our band, we groove it like this. That's the difference. That's why we like certain drummers more with certain bands than others. The way this guy fits this band is different than the way this guy fits the band. So you got to fit, and music is like a giant puzzle, and you got to figure out your way to fit in that thing without disturbing the rest of everything else.
Right. Have you found situations, Michael, where you've had to come in and adjust? Your groove is your groove, and I totally get that, but make little adjustments to how you maybe accent things or where you place the beat certain places to accommodate what they're used to, like an artist like Frankie Beverly or just...
Yes. Now, I'll tell you one of the things why bass players and drummers relationship is so important, because it's not a dig on anybody. If a bass player plays with a drummer that he knows leans to the front and rushes, a bass player that knows that and knows that about that player, he knows that he's going to take the anchor side and he's going to be the one to hold it back and play. And a great bass player can sit on that back end, and Freddie Washington, Nathan East, those guys, they sit on that Sekou Bunch. They'll sit on that back end, and it's like, it doesn't make you do anything. It commands you to do something different, And then you got the situation where a drummer who plays a fill, but every time he plays the fill, he leans because he's anticipating getting to that next section. Situations like that, it's hard to get the adjustment. They have to learn how to get in touch with their body clock to level that out, because the greatest of bass players, if you lean in and rush into a field, you're just going to get to that one before everybody else. And the guys who's used to playing with all kinds of people, they'll anticipate, oh, he's leaning, let me hit the one a little quicker than I normally would. I can't lay back and hit the one. I have to push that one because he's already rushing. So in other words, a great bass player will make that adjustment, and you won't feel like the drummer's rushing. You'll just feel a surge of energy like an old record. You think of the old records, Chameleon, that might have started at the tempo 77 and ended up at 93, 94. But you don't notice because everything is gradually doing this. Everything's building. that the record, stuff like that, Quincy Jones, man, it starts at one tempo and it finishes at another tempo. But during the record, the performance, you don't notice it at all.
Yep.
Because the peaks and valleys of the song, a song that sits here, sometimes that's just too straight. So if you get a song that takes dips, and certain artists, they want that. And Steely Dan is that's the kind of people they are. Frankie Beverly, George Benson, Curtis Mayfield, all those people that I've worked with, I grabbed stuff from each of them and brought into different situations.
Yeah. Well, that's, and you've mentioned a bunch of people some songs that I want to play too. So that's a perfect setup. Okay. And I had this Frankie Beverly song ready to go the morning after. And it's, as you said right out of the gate, it's great groove, but let's play a little bit, and maybe you can even talk about just sort of, what was required to make this feel and sound the way it does.
Okay.
Here we go. Man, such a hypnotic groove.
Now that was done with no click.
That was done with no click. I was afraid you were going to say that. Not afraid, but I was thinking you were going to blow my mind. I would have assumed.
No click. Now what he did, he had this little drum machine, little rhythm box, and he programmed little stuff in there, but didn't use the quantize.
I dig. Okay.
Because he has a great feel. He had incredible feel. So he programmed a little stuff, and I played with his sequence, and he turned it into a 4-bar groove. But it's not quantized, so it's no click.
Yeah.
So in that track, believe it or not, we cut this track. Had to be 5 or 6 different drummers over the course of 9 months.
No kidding.
9 months. We recorded 4 songs in the course of 9 months, and never got it. And that was the last time I went up to do it. And then I recorded 5 songs in 4 days after 9 months.
Yeah.
So he was very, very meticulous in the studio, and even more so live, because he didn't want to record with the click. He didn't like clicks.
Yeah. I heard you mention that too, where he'd like to have it like would want his drummers or have you play, the hi-hat maybe a little bit ahead at times, or just,
Right.
really kind of, manipulating the groove, so to speak.
He wanted the snare drum on the backside, the kick drum in the middle, and the hi-hat a little bit on the top side.
Yeah.
And it creates this pull. And when you get into that spot, like you could hear it on like the live record, Live in Los Angeles that I did, you could hear it on that, because when he felt that thing, you would hear him say it on the mic, "All right, Bam." Yeah. And then when he didn't feel it, he said, "Come on, Bam." Because now he's not feeling what he's trying to feel. So, you learn artists. He had this, which means pick it up, move it up just a little bit, just keep it going. Then he'll stop. And then if he wants you to pull it back, he does this. He wants you to pull it back. So, and then after going through that with him for so many years, when I played with other people, it just made it seem like their groove was not as hard. And one of the places where I lended that the most to was the Steely Dan stuff, because, their reputation was how rough they were on drummers. Everybody always knew that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not the case. They couldn't have been more open and inviting.
That's great, man. Well,
nobody knew who was going to be on the record, because we all played the same tracks except for Gaslighting Abbey. Ricky played on that. Nobody else even attempted it. It was done, put away.
Yeah.
So, but we all played the same tracks.
That was kind of next up, I think, or one of the next couple of tunes I wanted to play, because as you say, it's Steely Dan, and they have that reputation of really being meticulous with drummers, and and as you said, having a bunch of great drummers all play the same songs and picking which versions they want. And so, and you got to be on 2 songs on Two Against Nature too, which is a pretty huge honor in itself.
It's the single, and then the other song. Yep.
Yeah.
And nobody. It was funny, when certain people, producers, when they're doing demos, Fagan, he told me this thing he called it demoitis. People get demoitis. Like they'll listen to the demo for so long writing it. Then when it's time to record, they want you to play what's on the demo, which is demoitis, because that's not what we want. So their demos, first of all, were the worst sounding demos I ever heard in my life. And he said they did it on purpose so they would not have a chance of falling in love with the demo. The demos were ugly. They were ugly. But the charts were great. And then at the end of every session, when we would get done with whatever track we were doing, they had a thing that he called it an effort track. All right, let's do an effort track.
Yeah.
F the chart, F what we want you to play what you hear. And the tune What a Shame was my effort track. Because
no kidding.
Everybody else did it on hi-hat. And Zildjian had sent me a breakbeat cymbal, a backbeat cymbal or something.
Yeah.
And it was a prototype. And I took that with me to New York, and I played that on the track. And that's what made the record. My
Okay,
effort
Michael.
track.
Yeah. Okay. That is so important to know, because I picked that out right away. Seriously, so much of typically when you hear a Steely Dan record, it's almost always hi-hat, at least during the verses. And then maybe during the chorus, there might be some ride cymbal, but that immediately stood out to me, was that you were playing the ride cymbal. Yeah. Well, let's play that right now. That's a great setup for this song. So this is Steely Dan, What a Shame About Me, and this is from Two Against Nature, the great Michael White on drums. Here we go. We'll play a little bit of this. Great sound and cymbal. groove, man.
I was grinding through my day gig, stacking cutout at the Strand, when in walks Franny from NYU. We were quiet night, and back then we talked about our films and shows and CDs. Don't know what else. She said, yeah, Hollywood's been good to me, but tell me, how about yourself? I'm still working on a novel, but I'm just about to quit. So worried about the future now, or maybe this is it. It's not all that I thought it would be, but what a shame about me. She said, talk to me, do you ever see anybody else from our old crew? Bobby kinda won the Bunsen prize. He's coming out with something new. Alan on the chain of steam of heavens. Barry is a software king. And somebody told me in the early 80s, gonna be the next big thing. Well, now that was just a rumor, but I guess I'm doing fine. 3 weeks out of the rehab, living one day at a time, sneaking up on the new century. What a shame about me. What a shame about me. I'm thinking of a Major Jane Street sunrise. The goddess on the fire escape was you. We both ran out of small talk. The connection seemed to go dead. I was about to say, hey, have a nice life.
Man, what a groove. What a... And I see that Walter is credited as the bass player on that song, Walter Becker. And
Yeah,
did you guys... Oop.
Yeah, he played bass on. Now when we recorded it, Tom Barney was playing,
I see. Okay.
and then they, I don't know why, but they replaced Tom. But Tom did all the sessions that I did.
Yeah. Okay. So his bass part is overdubbed. He didn't play it with you, but
Right.
it's a great bass part. That was my question: is did you guys track that together? But you gave me the answer. Yeah. And so what you played, like the tom fills and all those parts, were those when this was your effort track, when you were playing it a different way? Were you still playing a lot of those same kinds of fills, or was this just like a departure from how you'd been playing it before?
The only thing I changed was basically, instead of playing it on the hi-hat, I just played it on the ride.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it basically, I was still playing the chart. Everything that I played was still on the chart. And then some of the charts was so long, we had page turners.
Okay.
To turn the pages for us. And because they wrote the charts way long, because they didn't want anybody to have to go back and read a DS or repeat or a coda or any of that. So the bass, the guitars, they were all on rollers. They had this big wooden plank. I've never been on a session that had that. They had this big long wooden plank, and they were in chairs, and they would scoot down the plank as they were reading the chart. You would see everybody scooting down, and then by the time they started, if they were over here, by the time it ended, they were over here at the end of the chart. That was good. That was very interesting to see.
That's a trip. Wow. Was that like it wasn't a distraction in any way?
No,
no, it was cool.
All.
Okay.
Not at all.
That's great. And so every drummer played it exactly the same way. They all played the same. I mean, in terms of the form of the song, but not everybody's got their own feel and all that. But
right.
Yeah.
But everything was charted out, and
Man,
like on Jack of Speed, there's very few crashes. Like after the field, they didn't want to crash. There was no crash, written. So you just, I said, so read it without the crashes. Oh yeah, and then where they are, you will play it there too, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, let's play a little bit of that too.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's Jack of Speed, Steely Dan.
Teddy's rolling almost every night, skating backwards at the speed of light. He's changed in 1,000 little ways. He's changed, yes indeed. He's moving on metal. Yes, he's hanging tight. The Jack of Speed. Sheena's party, there's a case in point. That right winger who he sure stunk up the joint. He's gone. He walks through the old routines, but he's gone. Guaranteed. He may be sitting in the kitchen, but he's stepping out. The Jack of Speed. You maybe got lucky for a few good years. There's no way back from there to here. He's a one-way rider on the Shrink Express, and his new best friend is at the throttle molest. He can't hear you, honey. That's alright. Pack some things and head up to the light. Don't stop. He'll be calling out your name, but don't stop. When you hear him plead, you better move now, little darling. He'll be trading for Jack of Speed. You maybe got lucky for a few good years. There's no way back from there to here. He's a one-way rider on the Shrink Express.
Such an infectious groove. It really is.
Now the skip on the hi-hat, that wasn't written. I just added that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I added that. That wasn't written.
And you got away with it, so to speak. I mean,
Yeah, I got away with
that really adds so much to it too. That's such a great lift to it. It's, yeah. It's, you wonder about those things too, because, Donald and Walter, they don't miss much, I'm sure, and maybe they heard that and thought, yeah, that's cool.
And what was cool about it, because they didn't, you never can say that somebody don't know what, like a lot of musicians will say, man, he keep asking me to do this. They don't know what they want, and sometimes artists don't know what they want until they hear it. So until then, that's why they call in different people for different views on what they're looking for. And then once they hear it, it's like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But trying to explain that sometimes is kind of weird. Like you remember the great Larry London. I don't know if you were at this clinic that he was talking about, one of the producers that he worked with that I always loved. He said that he was doing a record and the producer said, hey, man, can you give me that beat that sounds like a three-legged dog?
Yes.
Said, you remember that?
Was that out in L.A. at the thing he did? Yes. Yeah. I remember that.
And everybody in the audience is going, what the heck is a three-legged dog? And then Larry says, ba, 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 ba. Right away, as soon as I thought about it, I could see the three-legged dog. With the little kid. So that's the way this producer heard it. And when he said that, that's what they came up with. So that I call that the three-legged dog beat.
That's great, man. Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. I was going to just read a quick question from Doug McKenzie. He asked this question a few minutes ago. He said, Michael, I'm curious where you developed your reading skills for sessions and jingles. Was it the band teacher that you mentioned before, or was there some other way that you developed that ability to read so proficiently for jingles and sessions?
Alvin E. Lawson was my high school teacher, and then I had a scholarship to American Conservatory of Music in Chicago.
Oh, yes, I had a note of that. Yeah,
that's where I got the reading thing from. I studied with a guy named Brian Grice and a guy named Thurman Barker, and I studied mallets with the great James Dutton, who was one of the kings of mallets, and I studied snare drum with Barry Grossman, who taught at the New England Conservatory after a while. Him and Harvey Mason were real good friends. And Brian Grice, I took timpani lessons from Brian Grice, who was another great drummer. But I didn't keep up with my percussion things as much. I knew that I wanted to come out here and do drum set. That was my main focus. So back in the 80s, when I met Harvey Mason and Peter Erskine both in 78 at a clinic that they did at the conservatory. So Harvey gave me his number. He said, if you ever get out here, give me a call. So I gave him a call. I ran into him at the drum shop. I had given him a call, and he never called me back or anything. So I ran into him at the drum shop, and I was kind of standing. Jerry was like, "Do you know Harvey?" I was kind of angry. I was like, "Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he told me, he gave me his number and told me to call, and he never answered the call." And I was like, "Yeah, so I'm not, later for that." And Harvey's like, "Yo, man, hold on." He cooled me out. I was like, "Hey, man, and, I meant to call you and blah, 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 blah." And then we became cool. And about a year after that, John Beasley hires me for this TV show that reoccurred every Thursday. And Harvey Mason was doing mallets. Mike Fisher was doing percussion. Charles Meeks, the bass player, Chuck Mangione, was playing harmonica. Dean Parks and Eric Gale were guitars, and Neil Stuppenhouse was playing bass. And this was every Thursday at Group 4 Recordings. We were doing that TV show Family Ties. So Harvey and them, he's my idol growing up, and I'm on sessions with my idol. That was crazy.
Wow.
So of course, we became buds, and we're still like this to this day.
That's great, man. Yeah, but, Harvey.
Yeah, so I got my reading together from that. And then the other thing is, the more you do it, you learn how to read ahead. And you see the rhythms, you see them coming like anything else. You just see it a mile away, like how you read a book. You learn how to read ahead. And then words that you got to figure out, it's like a rhythm you got to figure out. Same thing, you might sit on that rhythm for a minute until you figure out, okay, that's that word, or that's that rhythm. So that's what the reading thing is like. So the more you do it, the more proficient you get at it.
Yeah. Yep. Right on. Yep. Well, we'll keep playing some more music. I'm sensitive to it's Sydney's birthday. We don't want to keep you on here all day today. And I think she's watching. I think I saw that she's watching us live. So happy birthday, Sydney. Thank you again for letting me borrow your husband for a little while today. All right. And so many of your friends, our friends, are watching today too, Michael. I just want to tell you lots of great comments. And I think I saw Charlie Drayton a second ago was watching. I don't know if he's...
man.
Yeah. The great Charlie Drayton.
Charlie Drayton.
Yeah, he is. So let's move. So this tune I wasn't familiar with that you recommended, "Ain't No Way" by Kenny Lattimore, and man, this song I've just been playing it over and over. I go out during my runs in the morning and I play a bunch of these songs, and this song really just grabbed me. It's just such a great. Your playing is so beautiful, but it's such a great song, and it reminded me of another song, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to play some of "Ain't No Way," and then I'm going to play a little bit of a song it reminds me of, and see what you think. And it's
okay.
And it's in no way to say that it's a copy of it. It's not. It's just I realized that I loved it so much because it reminded me of this classic R&B tune that you'll recognize when I play it. But it's reminiscent. But anyway, this is "Ain't No Way," Kenny Lattimore, the great Michael White on drums.
It ain't no way for me to love you, babe, if you won't let me. And it ain't no way for me to give you all that you need if you won't let me give all of me. Listen, I know a man's duty is to love and cherish his woman, yeah, and that's the way it was planned. But how can I give you all the things that I can if you're tying both my hands? Oh, ain't no way. Ain't no way. It ain't no way, no way. Ain't no way. It just ain't no way. Ain't no way. Sure enough, ain't no way. Ain't no way. It ain't no way for me to love you if you won't let me. Stop trying to be someone you're not. How cold and cruel would anybody get if they paid too much for what they got? And darling, if you need me, sugar, just say you do.
Man, that's what I was talking about, Michael, with the space in between the notes. Mm-hmm. That song in particular, to me, really demonstrates your feel, man, how you can put that beat. Oh, man, it just feels amazing with that. You could drive a truck between that big space between each beat. It's just so great, man.
What I did, if you listen, in the beginning, I'm playing quarter notes, leaving all the space in the hi-hat, because normally most people want to play, eighth notes to make this thing move. But one of my favorite R&B drummers for ballads was Yogi Horton.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you listen to those Luther records, he had a lot of space in between those hi-hats. And the reason I chose that, I love ballads, because ballads are harder to play to me than any other recording, because they go so slow. You could see the spaces in the song. Like, he's rushed there, he rushed there, he's dragging here. You can see every beat. And I love being a ballad player. And some of my favorite ballad drummers are Buddy Williams, Ricky Lawson, Yogi Horton. Mm. Those three guys with ballads, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you're right up there with them, buddy. I mean, really,
I really have a love for ballads, because they're hard to play.
Yeah. I'm going to play another second of this. I'm going to play a little bit of the song I was talking about before.
Oh yeah, let me hear it.
Yeah, so I'm going to ease back into this a little bit.
I just want to love you, and I just want to hold you.
All right, so that Ain't No Way.
But it ain't no way, babe.
And if you think I'm crazy, just say so with what I think it sounds like. But hang on a second. I think you'll recognize this song right away. Yeah. It's that space,
Yeah.
All the things that we've been through, you should understand me like I understand you. Now, baby, I know the difference between right and wrong. I ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah, the great Harold Melvin and the Blue Tones.
Oh, Blue Notes.
Right. Blue Notes.
You know who that I think that is? That's either Quentin Joseph or Earl Young.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's either Earl Young or Quentin Joseph, I think, because that's the Philly International sound.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of vibe of what, that 6/8 feel, of what it was. But he played the eighths, and I just played the quarters and didn't introduce the eighths until later. But that's the same groove. Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And it really just kind of evokes that, I don't know. I just think that it really just, there's just something really special when you put that much space in between the beat, and it just, it just has such a great feel to it. So, yeah.
I love ballads.
Well done. Yeah, well done. Well, let's play a couple more tunes, and I'm going to let you dismiss you for the day. Should we play now? I kind of called an audible here. You'd pointed me to a couple of tunes for this tribute record for Luther Vandross, and there's another tune that you played called Never Too Much on that record, Paul Jackson Jr. Can we play a little bit of that?
Sure.
And I think this is an instrumental, I think, right?
Yes, Rex Rideout produced it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great, man. Hey, here we go. Never Too Much. Man, your hi-hat work, it stands out so beautifully, man. It's so tasty and so perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Just another couple of quick questions, and maybe we'll play a little bit more music and we'll call it a day here. But
I'm good. However you need. Whatever you need.
Thank you, Michael. Had a question from Daniel McCarthy, and he said he's asking, at those slow tempos, are you locking in with the bass, vocals? I just lost it here. Bass, vocals, or just locking in with yourself?
I'm kind of locking in with myself.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it's done with the click. And sometimes what I like to do with the click, I'll have certain producers, if it's a certain thing, like when I work with Rex Rideout, I've done a bunch of records with him, a bunch. And we're like best friends. So what he'll do, he'll take his click and he'll slide it milliseconds behind the beat so it sits behind the beat. So that gives me room to create a different thing because I know he likes things behind the beat. So I'll have him slide it, and it's easier for me to sit in his slot for him.
Wow. All right.
And it works great. Because sometimes if everything's right on the grid, it seems too stiff. But if you slide it back a little bit and then put your lope on top of the slide back, it creates a whole different thing.
Man.
Because on the sessions, most musicians don't want to hear the click, just the drummer.
Right. And when you started, when you started doing sessions, you probably weren't using a click on a lot of these early tracks, right?
But I was using clicks a lot.
You were
yes.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, doing jingles, it was always a click because they were 30-second, 60-second spots. So everything was about time. Just like TV. I was doing a TV show where Paul Jackson was part of this as well, called Townsend Television. And we have to cut everything to click. So when we went to TV, if they did any fades, it wouldn't be rushing or dragging. If they had to cut from 101 to 109, the tempo would still match.
Right on. Yeah.
Without a click, you don't want, even if it just moved a little bit, you could barely notice it. You still, once you move it and try and line it up, now you can hear the rub, as opposed to a gradual, low intensity.
Yeah.
So those things are like very click. Just like the film.
Yeah, so you got used to working with it at a very young age. Early age, yeah.
And then plus in college, they really impressed on every lesson. When we went to do lessons, they turn on the click, the metronome in the room. So that kind of got you early on to that. Just like when you would take piano lessons, the old metronome, you have to kind of like stay with that. Which is a great thing. Yeah. That's great. More great information. Just to impart onto people that this is what you have to do to be in the big leagues. To play in the major leagues, to hang with the big boys. All right. Well, should we play? There's a couple more songs that you had kind of given me, and I thought maybe we'd play maybe just a little bit of this George Duke song. How about you? Mm-hmm. Or there's also a George Benson, Al Jarreau, Herbie Hancock song, Long Come Tutu. Okay, and that's no click on that either.
Ah, okay. Should we play some of that?
Sure, and we tracked that live at Henson.
Right. You mentioned that earlier. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this would be a great example then to show people this is just live tracked. Here we go.
You know what makes me smile? It's kicking his groove for miles. It always makes me grin, no matter what mood I'm in. You know what makes me smile? It's kicking his groove for miles. It always makes me grin, no matter what mood I'm in. A long, long time we were waiting. still awaiting. I thrilled on one pale little dawn, long gone to long gone to long night did it all of a waiting. Before the light we were praying. I thrilled on one pale little dawn, long gone to I thrilled on one pale dawn. Long gone to do. Long gone to long gone to do.
Man, we had to play it in its entirety. There was so much happening in that tune, man. You were just so dynamic. Just
I can remember the session like crazy because it was just so epic.
yeah.
Man, wow.
And cut live, so no click tracking. Was it just like one take too? Was it all?
We cut one with a click and one without, and Marcus dug the one without the click. Him and
There you
John Burke dug the
Yeah.
one with no click.
Yeah, that's the keeper right there. Yeah,
And Herbie, everybody was live. Patrice, everybody was live.
yeah. That's epic. That is. I could see why you'll remember that forever. You know, like
Oh man,
yeah, man, Michael, you have so much to be proud of, man. What a career, and you're not done yet, obviously, but
no, I thought I was, but the phone's been ringing really well. So I'm having fun. Like currently, I'm touring with the group called BPM, which is Brian Bromberg, Michael Paulo, and Paul Brown. And Paul Brown is probably the most celebrated contemporary jazz producer that's out. He's had like 92 number one hits. So I do quite a bit for Paul. And then I'm also been traveling with Jazz Funk Soul, which is Jeff Lorber, Everett Harp, and Paul Jackson Jr. And I've
Yeah.
been doing their records as well for like the last 4 or 5 years, me and Gary Novak and
Mhm.
Gordon Campbell and a few other guys, Lil John. And I've been traveling with them as well. So it's been fun. I'll go out and do a week or a weekend and between the two of those guys. But other than that, I'm staying in town, just enjoying the home life, just having fun.
that's great, man.
And working, in the studios here in LA.
Yeah, that's great. When you told me that the other day, I just thought, that's what a great situation to be in, where you can go out and do the gigs you really want to do, that the music is fulfilling and you love to do, and then just be able to get enough work home, and whether it's home at your home studio or sessions in town, and films, and it's you've worked hard to get to where you are, but you're there.
It's fun. I never would have thought this. I'm getting my pension from the union now, and I'm getting my Social Security. I'm 67, and things I'm just going to do it until I can't,
Yeah.
And, I take the gigs that I want to take. It's like I said, it's not about the money. If it's good music and a good hang, a lot of fun, I'm in. I don't want to bicker about what this gig is paying. I've done that for years,
Yeah.
and anybody that's trying to get rich doing that, that's not the way to think about it. You have to think about it with fun. And if the money comes and the riches come, it comes. But you think about, man, trying to get rich playing music today, even back then. I mean, songwriters back then made so much more money from writing songs than they do now because the industry's different. The streaming versus the selling of the wax or the CDs, it's just a different dynamic now completely.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's a hard business for somebody to just start to try to break into today.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's great that you've established yourself to be where you are and be able to, like you say, pick the gigs, pick the tour dates that you want to do, and otherwise just stay home, be with your family, work.
Right.
Yeah. It's great. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for being here today. I really enjoyed having you and catching up with you. It's been an honor. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Anytime.
All right. Everybody, a big hand for Michael White, my old buddy. And
Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, buddy. Well, hang with me for 1 second. We'll end the show.
Okay.
And we'll say goodbye in the Zoom room. But thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon. Another big hand for Michael.
And happy birthday, Sydney. I love you, baby.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sydney. Thank you. All right. See you guys soon. All right, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also download the episodes on all podcast platforms. And please visit my website, livefrommydrumroom.com, for upcoming shows and information on purchasing Live From My Drum Room t-shirts and hoodies. 100% of the proceeds go toward a scholarship I've created with the Percussive Arts Society. The link is also in the show notes. And you can contact me through my website or at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. And remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again real soon.